Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's Monday, February 27th, 2017. The buzz of the nation today is the mistake made to close out the Academy Awards last evening. In case you haven't heard the news, the final award was for Best Picture. They had Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway presenting the award, the two who co-starred in Bonnie and Clyde 50 years ago in 1967. They were reading together from the envelope. Faye Dunaway said, "And the winner for Best Picture is La La Land." So the crew from La La Land came up, took the stage, gave their acceptance speeches, hoisted their Academy Award trophy, and midway through were interrupted and told, "Sorry, a mistake has been made. The real winner of Best Picture is Moonlight." So the statues were given to the crew from Moonlight. They took the stage, they gave their acceptance speeches, and immediately after that, the headlines flowed out about the worst mistake ever made in the history of the Oscars. Last night was the 89th Oscars. They're saying it was the worst mistake in its entire history. And what I'm going to show you is last night's mistake was no mistake at all, but instead part of a ritual and a tribute to the very racist past of Hollywood and this nation. Last night's mistake was not only a tribute to racism, but it was a tribute to the orange Oompa Loompa in the White House, Donald Trump, who absolutely represents racism, hatred, and division. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at why it was Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty used in this mistake and the larger picture. We're also going to talk about Steve Harvey's mistake from Miss Universe, December 20th, 2015, which was no accident either, and which was also very much connected to Donald Trump. You might recall then the focus was on Donald Trump running for president, this racist, this asshole, who used to run Miss Universe. A lot of stories came out around that time about how inappropriate and perverted he was around the women at the pageant. We are living out a sick joke in this nation. Last night's stunt was part of this sick joke. If you don't know where you live in the United States of America, take a look at who runs Hollywood. Those are the same people who run your nation, who control your government, who control your money supply. They are the Zionist Jews. They are the Freemasons. And they do everything by a code, which you're going to learn more about if you're new here. So here's the headline from CNN last night. The winner is Moonlight. The winner is Moonlight. Using the English reduction format, that sums to 113, just like the word moonlight using the alphabetic order is 113. 113, a number that's routinely coded into Hollywood films. If you're not aware of this, look it up. Pixar puts it in all of their films. So do many other Hollywood studios. In the Talmud, the Jewish holy text, Bava Kama 113a says it's okay for somebody who's Jewish to lie to somebody who isn't. Hollywood, run by Zionist Jews. So is your media, which puts out purposeful lies and propaganda by the numbers every single day. The word mainstream equals 113 using the alphabetic order. So does dishonest, so does perverted, so does green screen, so does Scottish. Scottish as in Scottish Rite Freemasonry, the very Jewish branch of Freemasonry that runs this nation. 113 is the number. In the reduction format, Moonlight sums to 50, like Donald, like America. Faye Dunaway, Warren Beatty co-starred in Bonnie and Clyde 50 years ago. Special number to this nation, 50 states. Warren Beatty is currently 79 years old. He'll turn 80 March 30th this year, a date with 33 numerology. It's interesting that last night's awards were 33 days from his birthday. Special number of Freemasonry. We often see 33 and 113 together. 113 in numerology terms breaks into 11, the master number, in 3. 11 times 3, 33. See this pairing again and again. I want to make this point about La La Land and 113. It was tied for the most nominations for an Oscars with Titanic at 14. I find this really interesting that it was nominated for so many awards. I haven't seen the film myself, but I have heard that the film is awful. I've heard it's a musical with people who can't sing and dance, namely Ryan Gosling, who's the star of the film. There's been plenty of jokes I've seen in the last month or two since the film came out that they should have hired black actors to sing and dance. If you missed the mistake last night, you had the white film crew for La La Land on the stage. La La is for LA, Los Angeles, where Hollywood is, where these awards ceremonies were last night. The historically very white and Jewish Hollywood. Anyway, that's been the joke about how awful the movie is because it's a musical with people who can't sing or dance. So anyway, I find that to be part of the joke, that it was announced as the winner, and then they brought in the other movie, Moonlight, which is about a black man, and which had a predominantly black crew up on the stage. Also, last year, the hashtag was Oscars So White. Remember that from a year ago? Anyway, La La Land was tied for a record amount of nominations despite not being a very good film based on what myself and many of us have heard. But anyway, it was tied for 14 nominations with Titanic. Titanic also has gematria of 113. The news before the Oscars yesterday was the death of Bill Paxton, who starred in Titanic. If you missed my video on that, Murdered by the Numbers, check my video on it. Either that or he faked his death by the numbers, as these celebs often do. But if you don't know about the history of the Titanic, look up the history of the Titanic. The story of the Titanic is 100% bullshit. Remember how I said mainstream equals 113 and so does dishonest? So does bullshit. Bullshit equals 113. And the story of the Titanic is absolute historical bullshit. Something that never happened. Did you know that more than a decade before the supposed sinking of the Titanic on an iceberg, there was a fictional novel written, which you can still check out at most city libraries, called The Titan? It's about the largest ship ever built that sinks on its first sail after hitting an iceberg. The Titan. That book came out more than a decade before Titanic. Titanic, the biggest ship ever built that sailed on an iceberg. Supposedly J.P. Morgan was the big financer of the boat and he was going to ride on it but stepped off at the last second due to illness. This is the historical story. The truth is, the Titanic is a completely fictional story. Never happened. 100% fake. They say 3 of the world's richest men died on the Titanic that day. Be like the equivalent of Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and George Soros dying in an airplane wreck. If that was the news tomorrow, that would be the story of the Titanic. The Titanic never happened. Completely fake story. All part of our fake ongoing history by the numbers. But anyway, back to what happened last night, the mistake. Check this out. The film La La Land came out on December 9th, 12/9. America equals 129 in Jewish gematria. The United States of America is a Jewish creation, always been run by Zionist Jew banker tyrants. Anyway, the date of this film, December 9th, 2016, 12 plus 9 plus 20 plus 16 equals 57. Last year, the hashtag for the Oscars was Oscars So White, 57. Here's La La Land, a white movie. White people who can't dance or sing. Notice that La La Land also equals 57. So does Moonlight was announced as the winner after the mistake of announcing La La Land. If you don't know about Jewish history, the Jewish people identify through the moon. That's because the Jewish history is that they've nearly been wiped off the planet by so many different people throughout history, only to return full again, just like the phases of the moon. The moon disappears in the night sky, only to return full. Notice Jews, Moon, and La La Land all sum to 57. The film was released on a date with 57 numerology. Last year, again, the hashtag for the Oscars was Oscars So White. This year, yesterday, to finish off the night, the white movie announced as the winner, but then moved off the stage to give it to the black movie, if you will. It's symbolic. Here's one of the headlines written by The Guardian. The Oscars mix-up matters because this night was always about racial bias. And all throughout history, the Zionist Jews who've run the media have always used it to stir people up and divide them and make them fight amongst themselves over nonsense, race and religion at the top of the list. What else is interesting is that from the release of the film to last night was 79 days. It was Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway who were presenting Warren equals 79. And notice Warren Beatty is currently 79 years old. The Jews don't mess around with their numbers, the false Jews. They do everything by the numbers. That's why if you just take this knowledge and apply it to whatever other bullshit news story you're looking at today, you're going to be able to decode it the same way. It's always the same. Our entire news is fake. It's nonstop creation of stories to keep us buzzing over nonsense. And that's part of it too. You know, they keep people buzzing about nonsense and that they know that the people never see what it's really all about. Just like everyone who's talking about this today, oh, did you see the mistake? You know, for them it's just that a mistake was made. They don't get what the larger joke is. They don't see the full message. So Faye Dunaway, she's a little bit younger. She's 76, if 6 was 9. She was born January 14th, 1941. From her birthday to the mistake was 44 days. We're going to be talking about how this connects to Trump. Keep in mind that Trump is the 44th person to be president. He's number 45, but the 44th person. These two, Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, they were in the film Bonnie and Clyde, which came out August 13th, 1967. Remember, August 13th. We've been talking about this since the day after Trump was selected. Really, we've been talking about it since the summer of last year, even before he was elected. I've been showing the ongoing parallels with Donald Trump, who ran on building a wall, and the Berlin Wall. Donald Trump in Gematria sums to 138. The date August 13th can be written 13/8, a lot like 138. Berlin Wall construction began August 13th, 1961. Donald Trump was announced as the 45th president on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, November 9th. So August 13th is what matters. The fact that this film came out on this date. The film's about, robbing, stealing. All elections in this nation are a theft in a way. A theft from the people who live under the illusion that their vote matters, that they live in a democratic republic. If you live in America, you live under a Jewish dictatorship. That's all you've ever lived under. So do most nations of the world. It's because money runs all, and the Jews run the money. So anyway, lots of headlines about this. These two. The date that film released, August 13th, 67, date with 88 numerology. The name Trump equals 88. The name Donald Trump equals 138. Perfect film release date for being part of a connected tribute to Donald Trump, the orange racist. By the way, yesterday's date had 45 numerology. Trump the 45th president, but the 44th person to be president. Faye Dunaway also has Gematria 45, who read off, the winner is La La Land, the mistake. This morning, they're calling this envelope gate. They love to use that gate word. Gate equals 33. I noticed that Bonnie and Clyde and envelope gate both also share Gematria. Possibly part of the tribute. 127 is the 31st prime. 31 represents the cube. The cube represents Saturn. Saturn has everything to do with 226 1993. This award ceremony was on February 26th, 226. This date in 93 was the date of the 93 World Trade Center bombing. It is the Zionist Jews who worship Saturn. Saturn represents time, the keeper of time. Everything comes back to Saturn for the Jews. And the moon, the two most important things in the sky to the Zionists who run the show. Anyhow, let's now jump into the Steve Harvey piece. Actually, real quick, before the Steve Harvey piece, we just talked about how yesterday's date had 45 numerology as well. The sum of the magic square of Saturn is 45. Remember, another number of Saturn is 511. Donald Trump's campaign was 511 days long to become the 45th president. So, now let's go back to December 20th, 2015. It was the buzz of the nation then. Steve Harvey announced the wrong Miss Universe winner. And, the same thing then as it was now. Who cares? Who cares? Why does this matter? Why do we even have these stupid award shows? People just, they'll just buzz about whatever's presented to them. Here, people, here's your information to buzz about. The minds of the masses are essentially all controlled through the television and mainstream media. Almost everyone in society that is true of. They only know how to talk and regurgitate what's shown to them. They can't ever inject their own opinion or insight. They just follow the way it's told to them through the media. But anyway, when this happened, there was a lot of focus on Donald Trump being a pervert, being abusive towards the contestants. Donald Trump used to own and operate Miss Universe. He might have even, for this one, what was that part of it? I think it was actually. It lost the TV contract, and then he had to find it for somebody else. I think all those things were going around the same time, and then Steve Harvey read off the wrong winner. Look at this. The date of the Steve Harvey incident was December 20th, 2015, a date with 47 numerology. The word president has gematria 47, so does the name Trump. On election night, Trump was in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel that's hosted every president since JFK. It's been 62 weeks, important number to Freemasonry, since that mistake. It was 62 weeks separating the two mistakes. What I noticed is that from November 8th, 2016, the night of the election, to last night's mistake was 110 days. The word president also has gematria of 110. And think about what's going on right now in the news. This ongoing story that started even before the election happened, that possibly Donald Trump and Russia were meddling in the election, causing influence in the election, making the election lean towards Trump. We keep getting these narratives. Remember, the media is all fake and propaganda, but they're always trying to clue the people in to what they have planned next. So they've been feeding us this story about, there might have been corruption in the election on behalf of Russia that helped Trump win. Do you think it's possible that at some point down the road, maybe in the not too far future, there's a headline breaking about some major evidence found that ties the Trump administration to Russia, that shows the definitive proof that this is why the election went for Trump? It's well within the media's capability and our government to do this to us and to say, Donald Trump can no longer be the president, and possibly his whole administration's thrown out. Who knows what they'll do to us? Some sort of special election? We're seeing what's going on in the world right now. The Brexit thing, the unexpected shakeup, the new prime minister. Donald Trump was over in the UK the day of the Brexit vote. That was exactly 138 days before the US election. I pointed that out then. I said, here's a surprise with Brexit. Will we see a surprise with Trump? Donald Trump equals 138. Sure enough, we did. But anyway, all of this is going somewhere. These ongoing narratives that they're giving us. They might end up saying that the wrong person was chosen as the president. This person cheated. It was rigged. All the things Trump was telling people through the media when Donald Trump all along knows that it is rigged and it was chosen and selected for him to play his part as he now is. You know, Donald Trump's probably known since he was a child that he was a future president of the United States. Presidents are selected, not elected. They're groomed and trained to be. So check this out. When the announcement mistake happened, it was already on the East Coast February 27th. Greenwich Mean Time, it was already February 27th, what the New World Order goes by. February 27th, special day, 2/27. The number 227 represents pi, having to do with cycles and circles. If you take 22 and divide 7, you get pi, like you learned about in geometry class. If you're on a PC and you hold your Alt button and press 227, pi is going to show up on the screen. That's the code on your computer for pi. Alt 227. Look at this. 22 divided by 7 sums to 314. So does Moonlight. So does Oscars in Jewish gematria. 314. A lot like 3.14, the number for pi. 22 divided by 7 is pi. It was February 27th in the majority of the world when this happened. Think about the moon. Think about pi. Pi's about cycles, circles. The moon, the sphere that goes through constant cycles that's so important to the Jews. In Jewish gematria, Moonlight and Oscars, 314. This is how it's done, people. This is what's going on in the world you live on. This is what's been going on for all of your life. Zionist Jews running the show by the numbers. Here's that Alt 227 code. Got to give credit to Derek for that. He just picked up on that. I'd been overlooking that all this time. And in case you missed my video on the death of Bill Paxton, another shining example of murder by numbers. Supposedly died February 25th, 2017, the date with 44 numerology. 44, the kill number all throughout history. Trump, the 44th person to be president. Bill Paxton, 44, execution, kill, ceremony. His full name's William Paxton, which equals 61. Dead at 61. They said he died from surgery. Another 113. The day began with 113. Ended with 113. So if you missed that video, I'll link it down below in the description. I'll also link the Jimmy Kimmel bit.